Well, former Giant Alex Cobb was signed by my Detroit Tigers as we transition smoothly over to my Tigers. Um, it's kind of crazy, like how much overlap between our kind of five random teams that we follow here. That there's so much overlap between these two. But with the former Giant being now a Tiger, it's not too surprising since Scott Harris, general manager, president, and GM of the Tigers, was the GM of your Giants. So the incestual relationship continues. Alex Cobb, 37 years old, definitely at the tail end of his career. It's just a 1 year deal. There are no bad 1 year deals, as we always say. Um, the funny thing, I don't know, what were your thoughts about Alex Cobb as a Giant? He was younger and more productive, but I feel like he never quite reached his potential with the Giants. I don't know. You might have more insight on that.
Yeah, no, I don't think he ever did reach his potential. I think he was always like, it was like, oh, if Alex Cobb has his year, then he's had good half seasons, is what he's basically had. He's had good half
Yeah,
seasons. So usually he starts out pretty well and then is like fade to black, basically. And
yeah,
his ERA, he's had ERAs in the first half of the year that were like right around 3, maybe even a little bit under, and then the season ends and his ERA is like 4.5 and crap like that. So um, always, he was part of that prototypical pitcher that the Giants liked, but to your point, never got over that hump, and has had a bunch of injuries. So that was part of the problem.
well, maybe the magic of Chris Fetter, Tigers pitching coach, that he's shown to be able to find reclamation projects and come up with the best out of them. Maybe that'll happen with Alex Cobb. The funniest part of the signing of Alex Cobb is the fan reaction has been just anger. Tigers fans are furious this offseason. It's crazy. Like I even saw some people like, "Oh, we don't need a pitcher. We need position players." Like, well, it's not mutually exclusive, but we need pitchers. We had one fucking starter in our rotation by the end of last season. Like, we're going to need some depth there. So I don't know why you'd be upset that we signed a pitcher, even though it's not the one you wanted. Um, I feel like Tigers fans are far more interested in how much Chris Ilitch spends this offseason than how many games the team actually wins. People are just obsessed with the Tigers payroll. They're convinced that Chris Ilitch will never spend the way his father did in the free rolling days of the early 2000s and teens. Um, I don't know. It's just vitriol, immediate vitriol as soon as Alex Cobb was signed. We need Alex Bregman, not Alex Cobb. That's what everyone was saying. So it's like, well, we could do both. Although I would advise against Bregman. It's kind of a similar obsession with the Tigers fans last offseason where everyone, I feel like everyone's, maybe besides me, wanted Matt Chapman, who eventually signed with your Giants again. I wasn't into it. And I'm even less into Alex Bregman, I think. I think Bregman's maybe a better offensive player than Chapman, but the contract that he would demand and the years would be ridiculous. It'd be
Yep.
over $200 million is what they're talking about. He'd want a 7 or 8 year deal. And it's like, we just got out from underneath this shit with Miguel Cabrera. We're seeing the worst version of this with Javi Baez. Like, why are we so like so ready to jump into these giant contracts for aging veterans? I think he's 31. So these contracts would be going until he's almost 40 that he's asking for. So I'm not interested in that. I'm just not. And I don't really even give a fuck how much the Tigers spend. I would like them to spend more. They have such an interesting, fun young team. It's like everyone forgot about last season already. It's like let's see what we've got here. Let's add strategically, but we don't have to go after the biggest free agent every time just to say we're spending money for the sake of spending money. It's ridiculous. I've seen it on social media, which is one thing, but it's all over Detroit Sports Talk Radio. A lot of hosts, Jim Costa, I've had problems with over the years. Anytime the Tigers do anything, he essentially wants Scott Harris fired, and it's just stupid. And to host the morning drive show, one of the biggest shows in Detroit, and to be completely anti Scott Harris no matter what he does is just ridiculous, and it just sounds like a petulant child. So I'm that's been the entertaining part of this winter meeting section of the off season. I think, yeah, I think the Tigers can certainly upgrade their offense. I think that's critical that they do in some regards. I think they're going to do it through trades more than through free agency. I just don't see the matchup there that makes sense. Bregman is the obvious third baseman on the market. Tigers have a hole at third base that could be filled. Again, for those reasons I stated, I don't think that makes sense. I don't think that's the direction they're going to go anyway. Um, Trades, Scott Harris did say they have two off-season goals. They want to add a right-handed bat and starting pitching. They're starting to add starting pitchers. I don't think he's done, hopefully, with just Alex Cobb, but maybe he is. I think there's another signing there to be had. The right-handed bat is interesting. The Tigers were very left-handed by the end of the season, which worked to their advantage, but it definitely you don't want to go too far in either direction. It's kind of unique that a team would be too left-handed. I think it's probably a good problem to have because it shouldn't be hard to find right-handed bats to fill in. So that has led to rumors where the Tigers could be interested in more aging veterans like Paul Goldschmidt, which I'm not in favor of at all. That just seems like he's been in severe decline over the last 2 years. I think he might be 38. Is he that old now? It's just not going in a good direction. That would be just to sign somebody just for a name, and that's not where the Tigers need to go. That would also mark potentially the end of Spencer Torkelson's career as a Tiger. If that were to come through, I don't know where he would fit in anymore, as he's clearly lost favor in the organization for good reason. But um, I've heard potential trade rumors that Nolan Arenado could come to play third base. I don't know what the Tigers have to give up. They've got plenty of farm system depth, especially in the middle infield, with the star of all that being Max Clark, number 5 prospect in all of baseball. But you've also got Jace Young, who made his major league debut last year, and to mixed reviews. He tried to play third base. They've been trying to groom him for that. He's just not a third baseman. More than likely, he's a second baseman. But we've got plenty of players for that too. So Colt Keith played second base and was tremendous, basically through the entire second half and into the playoffs. The idea potentially there is to move him to first base if they don't sign Paul Goldschmidt or someone like that, or Pete Alonso, I've heard, which I think is a pipe dream and not necessarily what they need. But it sounds like they're kind of moving on past Torkelson unless he has a breakout spring and can get off to a hot start. So I'm not sure what's happening there. I think that's about it for the Tigers. It's just a general state of angst right now, and I don't feel that. I do not have that with my Tigers. It was such a magical run, unexpected run into the playoffs. They didn't just make the playoffs on a whim or on luck. They were the best team in baseball for the second half of the season. They won a playoff series. They should have won 2. They were 6 outs away from winning 2 and making it to the ALCS. So it wasn't a fluke what they did. They can build upon that, but if they don't spend hundreds of millions of dollars in this offseason, they're going to be okay. This is not a contest to see who spends the most money. Although you could argue that with how the Dodgers are approaching things. And also we'll get to the Mets here in a bit, but calm down, Detroit. We're going to be fine. We got I think one of the best coaching staffs. We've got the best young lineup in all of baseball, and we've got the reigning Cy Young Award winner in our rotation. So chill out.
Word Hole Media.